Joseph Vissarionovich Jurashvili to a incredibly abusive alcoholic father who would basically just fucking beat the whole family and like pour wine on his finger and like give it to Stalin when he was like a little baby. He was just like constantly getting Stalin drunk, and it was a very auspicious start to his life. Very early on, Stalin learned to fucking hate his father, as you can imagine. Shockingly so. And once his father tried to enter him into an Orthodox academy, he was like, fuck this shit, I'm Stalin, I'm not gonna fucking do this. And he decided that he was going to become a revolutionary because he had read the works of Lenin and several other Bolshevik luminaries, and decided that he was going to try and contribute to the cause. And so he decided he was going to become Koba. Koba was his fucking he had like 6 or 7 nicknames, and so that was the main one, until he decided to become a Stalin, which is the Russian for steel. And basically, while the Bolsheviks were engaged in all sorts of serious issues in St. Petersburg trying to overthrow government, Stalin was like a fucking bank robber. He was just running around the fucking the Russian Empire at this point, and robbing banks and engaged in extortion, and he was just basically a fucking mafia don. Not a don, but one step below. Until finally, after the Bolshevik Revolution, after they finally took control, he somehow managed to gain a position of power. He initially started as the Commissar for Nationalities. For basically, he was forming the Soviet nationality policy, and wrote a whole bunch of interesting tracts on the subject, which basically was like, he is a Georgian and Ossetian, but he was like, fuck all y'all, the Russians are where it's at. The great Russian brother is going to tell everyone else what needs to happen, and the rest of you can just fucking fall in line. And so he wrote a whole series of treatises on this subject, basically saying all the other nationalities need to get in line and follow the Bolshevik Russian example. So Lenin at this time is having all sorts of fucking strokes. He can't do anything. He's basically incompetent. You see all these photos of him at the time, and there's like kind of like FDR photos where they're incredibly photoshopped and make it seem like he's being an effective leader, but he can't do shit. He's basically a paraplegic. And Stalin, despite having very little formal education, knew what the fuck was up, and he was like, I'm going to take advantage of the situation. I am going to destroy all of my enemies, and I am going to become the fucking leader of this entire, what will be the Soviet Union. And he fucking did. While Lenin was having these strokes, he initially thought that Trotsky was a little out of line and was like, this guy's a genius, but he is trying to move this movement in a direction I don't want, and so I need to counterbalance. Stalin, this guy is a fucking idiot, but he's strong, and I feel like he'll be a good counterbalance. I'm going to try and support him. And so he started doing that, and they quickly realized that Stalin was fucking terrible, and in his, what eventually became his last will, wrote all these pieces about how Stalin was going to basically destroy the party, and he needs to be reduced in rank and ultimately kicked out because nothing good will come from him. But Stalin was incredibly savvy and allied with several people, including Budoni, who Stalin, for the record, had a coalition of great facial hair to combat the leftists. And Trotsky quickly realized that he had been outflanked and had no chance. And so he went on a series of exiles and went to several countries before ultimately ended up in Mexico. He thought that Stalin would have forgotten about him, but Stalin never forgets, like an elephant. There were a bunch of American communists at the time who were volunteering for Trotsky to try and protect him and help him out with his whole operation. And it became quickly clear that Stalin was trying to infiltrate this, and so they basically went on lockdown. And Trotsky quickly lost sight of this because his wife was just fucking bitching at him all the time, like, Trotsky, all you fucking do is write these treatises and fuck Frida, and you ignore me, and fuck this. Trotsky was just like, I'm the leader, so I can do what I want. They actually got him. They got a guy on the inside who took a climber's axe, buried it in Trotsky's skull. And you'd think Trotsky would be done, but no, Trotsky was a badass mofo, and he ended up running around the compound screaming with a fucking climber's axe halfway embedded in his skull. And he just ran around until he finally died. It's fucking Trotsky for you. So Stalin was having the fucking time of his life. Stalin, he initiated the purges and basically annihilated anyone who ever disagreed with him, or people he even thought might theoretically disagree with him. And they had this whole series of show trials where, like, they would allegedly present evidence, but you fucking knew if you're going to a show trial, you're fucking dead. So, Stalin was probably one of the greatest copy editors in history. Every fucking document would come to him. He would read like 500 pages a day. Anyone who pissed him off, he'd write just one word, Rasilat, have him shot. He was basically assassinating the entire elite population. Anyone who slightly disagreed with him or he thought might theoretically disagree with him, he'd have them fucking killed. But then he'd have his cronies come in who were toadies who would do whatever the fuck he wanted and would never question him. And he'd be like, didn't I have you shot last week? And you hear that and you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? But you can't fucking question him because you do and you're done. He would force alcohol on all of his cronies. So he'd have these late night drinking sessions until like 3 or 4 in the morning with all of his cronies, like Khrushchev and the rest of them, the Beria, the head of it was NKVD, the precursor to the KGB and all those guys. And Stalin would just be fucking like, why aren't you drinking? Do you not respect me? And everyone would be like, oh, I fucking respect you, Comrade Stalin, and keep drinking. And he would fucking do this every night and like get everyone to get drink until like 4 in the fucking morning. And he'd do this to his wife, his second wife, sorry. His first wife had already divorced him. His second wife, he'd fucking do this to her as well and try and get them to dance and everything. She finally got sick of it and fucking shot herself. And she was like, I can't fucking deal with this anymore. You are a fucking psychopath, and just... Trotsky's dead. Stalin just fucking made his wife commit suicide. They've done the Molotov-Ribbentrop pact, the non-aggression pact with the Nazis, and so everything is going well. And all of his generals are like, so Stalin, maybe you didn't notice, but the Nazis are fucking coordinating all of their forces along the border, clearly waiting to invade us. And Stalin's like, nah, they're just practicing. It's all good, we're fine. Then, surprise, surprise, the Nazis fucking invade, and the Soviet troops have no fucking idea what's going on. They get destroyed, and Stalin is like, holy shit, I fucked up. And he retreats to his own dacha and refuses to talk to anyone. He won't answer his fucking phone. He's completely out of contact. And he's like freaking out in this little fucking summer place. Won't contact anyone. Finally, a coalition of like Khrushchev and all of the people in his inner circle come to visit him. And the first thing he says is, oh, have you come to shoot me? Because Stalin fucking knows the system he has set up, and he knows that by those rules, he's fucking done, he has failed the country, he should be shot and buried in a mass grave. Stalin literally was expecting to be shot. He knew that he had fucking failed, and there was no reason for people to keep him alive. But his toadies are just such fucking cowards. They won't deal with it, and Stalin basically is able to retake the power and say, yes, this is what we need to do, and jump right back into his position as Supreme Commander. Stalin is basically able to redeem himself through the fact that all of his subordinates were flunkies and couldn't think for themselves and needed someone else to tell them what the fuck to do. Initially, the whole socialist movement had been to try and promote socialism in every fucking country, to try and create an international movement with all the proletariat overwhelming the bourgeoisie. And Stalin had kind of decided to say, fuck that, we're going to focus it on socialism in one country, specifically the Russian Empire / Soviet Union. Stalin, even though he was a fucking Georgian from Gori, Chugashvili was his name, not even fucking Stalin, it's a fake name. Stalin was like a fucking Russian chauvinist, even though he wasn't a fucking Russian. He had previously destroyed several minority groups, the Tatars and the Ukrainians and several others. He had fucking sent all of them to Central Asia, thinking that, and the Volga Germans, he basically annihilated all those populations. And so, after World War II, he's like, yeah, I fucked all these guys and I fucked the Nazis, so who am I gonna fuck next? He's creating this conspiracy that all the Jews were out to kill him and all of his cronies, and was actually he killed several major Jewish leaders and was about to enact a serious, another purge to kill all of them, but then his heart fucking gave out on him. So, Stalin was in terrible health to begin with. He actually, when he was younger, had fucked up his arm, so he had one arm that was shorter and slightly crippled, and he had, what was it? I want to say smallpox. It wasn't smallpox, but he had a terrible disease, and so he had these awful pox scars all over his face. And so he died in 1953. Don't quote me on that, but it was the early 50s, and he had a series of fucking health issues and was starting to die, and basically all of his cronies, Khrushchev, Beria, and all the rest of the fuckers were like, shit, we fucking hate this guy, but we're incredibly afraid of him. But it looks like he might die, so we're not going to do anything. We're just going to stand here and hope that his heart and the rest of him fucking gives out on it. After he died, there was an extensive power struggle behind the scenes, and ultimately Khrushchev emerged triumphant, and Khrushchev fucking gave his secret speech and then gave several other talks, basically starting a new path for the Soviet Union. That is another story. It didn't go so well, but it completely changed the course of the Soviet Union. Stalin is basically like, he is directly responsible for the deaths of millions of people. Basically, Stalin was like a cold-blooded sociopath, psychotic murderer, but he had a great fucking sense of humor. Like a little, this is not gonna work. I feel like most drunk histories need someone to puke, but it's not gonna happen, I don't puke.